Hello, I am Absolute Power. Today I'll be reviewing a miniature figure of a Roman gladiator. This gladiator right here is called a murmillo. So here we see that it actually does have a gladius and a scutum, like our legionnaire. He does not have a pila though. I love the detail on this figure, personally. Yeah, as one of his feet are padded and has a little bit of metal. His right arm is padded. He's wearing a helmet with a lot of feathers. The murmillos were actually considered one of the heaviest gladiators and were very expensive to buy. To equip. So they had to be very physically strong. So facts about the murmillo. The murmillo was a type of gladiator during the Roman Imperial Age. The murmillo gladiator was adopted in the early imperial period to replace the earlier gallus, named after the warriors of Gaul. So that's an interesting fact that the murmillo was actually a replacement of a gallus, another gladiator from an earlier period. That's actually very interesting. I'm sure you guys all heard of Spartacus and Crixus. Crixus was Gaul, Spartacus was Trajan, the slaves that led an uprising. When that happened, basically at one point Spartacus he just went against his master and killed the guards there. Then it became very big deal. And when they were defeated, it basically meant that not laws necessarily, but also technically laws, but that's not the important bit. The important bit was that they started treating their gladiators a lot worse, keeping them in conditions because they had to keep them locked up just in case another Spartacus incident happened. And that just made it so that there wasn't really any more big slave uprisings. There was a few, very small, but they were never as big as Spartacus. Spartacus used a typical Thracian weapon. It's basically a curved sword and a small shield. Well, it's a medium-sized shield compared to scutum, it is pretty small. Gladiators actually, a lot of the times, there was a big chance, there wasn't just one fight. If you go to, say, Colosseum in Rome, and you were a citizen, and you could usually see some gladiators fighting exotic animals. This was, it was really expensive to import them at all, and at one point, I think they stopped really, they started going less heavily on it. But they did fight exotic animals from Africa, I think a bit from the Middle East. That's very high. I would be so I wonder how they felt, the gladiators, having to fight against an exotic animal. Because imagine you're here with a gladius and a shield like this murmillo, and you and another, say just another murmillo, actually had to fight a tiger. That you'd be scared. You might be able to kill it, but one of you would probably die, and you would be very, very scared. If the gladiator won enough fights, they would actually win their freedom. So let's say you'd have to win all of them basically, unless we'll get to that later. So let's say you won 10 fights. I'm not sure the exact number, but let's say you won 10 fights. You would be awarded your freedom, and you would be basically you wouldn't be a slave anymore. You wouldn't be a gladiator anymore. You'd be a free Roman citizen, and you would actually be given some land and some money. Obviously, I'm going to say this again this episode. If I get anything wrong, please leave a comment below. I would be greatly appreciated. On the subject of if gladiators won enough fights, they could have actually lost a fight, but still lived, and still be set free after they won enough matches after that. So basically, this is very heavily disputed. If it was a thumbs up, they lived, and a thumbs down, they died. A lot of sources say it's thumbs up they lived and thumbs down they died. I'd say they were submitted, and the highest ranking person there, I'd say it was the emperor, was there. He would give thumbs up if the gladiator would live, thumbs down gladiator to die, or like a senator. But it's also heavily disputed that it was thumbs down to live and thumbs up to die. So that, I'm not sure exactly which one, but it would be pretty cool, like just in general, just disputing this fact, like providing evidence for it. It's pretty cool. And what's next is, well, there was trainers for gladiators, obviously. And these trainers were called retires. Okay, sorry, let me get this right. Retires. They would train certain gladiators, so they wouldn't train them all. That they were trained to specifically. A secutaris and a doctoris sequitarum. And they trained those too, I believe. If I get anything wrong, please tell me. I would really appreciate it. Well, gladiators have to be big, bulky, and strong, obviously, to fight. Well, not bulky necessarily, they have to be strong to fight. They have to have good, strong physiques. So gladiators would actually usually eat wheat, barley, and beans. Beans are actually very good for protein and muscle, so I see that. All of these are pretty cheap, and Roman Empire produced a lot of these things in their like agricultural areas. And on this topic, it's like traditionally gladiators were selected slaves or conquered people. So you can't just be any slave to be a gladiator, all right? Maybe in some special occasions where they just want I don't know why they would do it, but they would usually you'd have to be strong. You'd have to be big and bulky. Well, not bulky. You'd have to be strong. Because if you're not strong, you're not gonna last at all, and it would be a waste of money. And you wouldn't last at all in a fight, and it would be a waste of money for the person that bought you. So they typically bought people with stronger physiques, stronger builds. And that is, well, in my opinion, that is a good idea. But it also led to, well, when Spartacus uprised, the gladiators were well trained and they could actually beat Roman soldiers. But I guess that only happened once. But it was very devastating. It wasn't a big devastating blow, but it was a pretty, it was a medium blow to the Roman Empire in that period of time. But being a gladiator and having uprised, or being a slave as well, it wasn't just gladiators that did the uprising at Spartacus. After that, when they got defeated eventually, what happened was that they set up crosses, like the one Jesus was on. When he died, when he got crucified, they crucified them. They crucified thousands of these slaves. And, well, I think it was on a road. It was a very long road. It had to be. And they were just put on the sides of roads to show that the Roman Empire was strong. So when people passing by would say there were slaves there as well, they said, this is what you do when you betray Rome. So it wouldn't just be for slaves. It would be for everyone who ever had an idea to betray Rome. That's what it would show them. If you betray Rome, you will die. And, well, that must have scared a lot of people because there wasn't that many big gladiator uprisings. But obviously there was also not as many big gladiator uprisings because of the stricter laws or rules after. That also did affect it. But it was a lot due to both of those things together. It really just did a whammy to the slaves. Personally, my favorite gladiator is the murmillo. And I'll tell you why. Because they have a gladius and a scutum. And be like, hey, why would that be your favorite? They were also one of the most heavily armored, and they had more vision from their helmet, I believe. And they were typically, as you can see, the left hand is on the shield. They would hold their big shield out here. They would hold their big shield out here, let's say. Let's say it's down, and then they would get their sword out. But if they was very nimble, the character, the opponent, they could get around them. And let's say you're facing that way and he manages to get behind you. Here he is very, very vulnerable. So I'm going to end off the episode, well, the campaign here. And I'll do a little spin of this gladiator. I just want to say thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Comment anything I got wrong, or any feedback, or any future reviews that you might want me to do after the Roman campaign is over. Roman campaign will be a total of 9 episodes long, or 9 campaigns long. And I think one of them will be about an enemy of Rome. So, yeah. It's a very beautiful figure. Very beautiful indeed. I'll just close up. So, yeah. So you can see he's holding his left leg up, forward, and his right leg back to, well, he's not holding his shield straight, but I think he's trying to hit someone or something like that with that. Kind of reminds me of the Wingdosars with these little things, but it's not even close to that. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. This was absolute power.